Back in late 2024, Charles Schwab released their Modern Wealth Survey, which found that Americans think you need a whopping $2.5 million in net worth to be wealthy or to be considered upper class. But is that right? Guys, I am so excited to talk about this because the conversation around wealth is clouded with misconceptions, arbitrary benchmarks, and outdated thinking. Today, we're cutting through all of that to give you the actual data of what net worth really puts you in different wealth classes. The truth might surprise you, and it might change how you think about your own financial journey. But before diving in, note that these statistics vary based on data sources and calculation methods. Our figures are approximations from the most recent Survey of Consumer Finances and the Richmond Fed data, inflation adjusted into today's dollars. And we're measuring total net worth. That's assets minus liabilities, which notably includes home equity. This means someone might appear to be upper class on paper because they bought a home decades ago and it's appreciated significantly, yet they may have limited liquid assets for retirement. This distinction is crucial because while your net worth may look substantial, having wealth tied up in your primary residence really limits your financial flexibility. As the saying goes, you can't eat a house. By the way, if you want to calculate your own net worth before we start so you can see where you're at as we go through this, we have a net worth tool available at moneyguy.com/resources. It's absolutely free and it'll help you get a clear picture of your current financial standing. Now, let's dive into what the data actually shows, starting with the bottom 25%. In dollar terms, this means a net worth below $29,300. As far as who typically falls into this bracket, it includes people with financial challenges such as those with little to no savings, folks with very high debt to asset ratios like recent graduates with large student loans, and a number of young adults who are just starting out in their wealth building journey. If you find yourself in this category, don't be discouraged. There is a clear path forward, and it starts with focusing on both sides of the net worth equation. On the liability side, prioritize eliminating high interest debt like credit cards and personal loans. On the asset side, start building your emergency fund, then your retirement accounts, and then expand into other types of investments. Here's something that might surprise you. Even small actions can have a tremendous impact over time. A monthly investment of just $160 growing at 8% can become $29,300 after 10 years. That's a very small sum over a relatively short period of time. So even starting from zero, there's a very clear and achievable path to moving through and beyond this bottom 25% threshold with disciplined saving and investing. The middle class represents the broadest wealth band, stretching from the $29,300 in net worth all the way up to $714,000 in net worth. This range is huge and easily the most varied, covering everything from the 25th percentile all the way to the 75th percentile of Americans financially. Because this range is so wide, it's helpful to break it down further into lower middle and upper middle categories. The lower middle class, which ranges from a net worth of $29,000 to $209,000, that's the 25th to 50th percentile. And then the upper middle class, which ranges from $209,000 to $714,000, that's the 50th to the 75th percentile. The lower middle class typically includes established professionals in their 30s and 40s with steady careers and growing retirement accounts, homeowners who have built equity over time through mortgage payments and appreciation, and maybe those that have some lingering liabilities and low-interest student loans. The upper middle class, that $209,000 to $714,000, is still widely varied. But these folks have generally passed what we call the boiling point. It's that critical threshold where their money is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. At this stage, wealth journeys start looking similar in the day-to-day, even though the numbers on paper remain wide-ranging. This upper middle group often represents households with significant retirement savings, substantial home equity, and the ability to weather financial emergencies without significant strain. Their financial concerns are shifting from basic security toward optimizing what they've built. For those in the lower middle class looking to level up, focus on maximizing retirement contributions, especially if you have an employer match, and look for opportunities to increase income through things like career advancement or maybe even side hustles. If you're in the upper middle class and want to continue climbing, it might be time to be more intentional with optimizing your investment strategy by thinking through tax-efficient vehicles beyond just basic retirement accounts, and maybe beginning to implement advanced tax planning strategies so that you can preserve more of your growing wealth if you haven't already begun doing those things. When we talk about the upper class in terms of wealth, we're really looking at households in the 75th to 90th percentile range. Those are folks with net worth between $714,000 and approximately 2.1 million, multi-millionaires. This group typically includes successful career professionals who've accumulated significant assets over decades of work, business owners with established companies and diversified investments, or maybe it's just households with substantial retirement savings and investment portfolios. Or even it could be people that have benefited from real estate appreciation over a long time horizon. What does this level of wealth mean for financial freedom? Well, for most in this bracket, it provides significant financial security. Many can consider early retirement, and their financial concerns typically shift from basic security to wealth preservation and legacy planning. Now, it's crucial to understand what these numbers don't do. First and foremost, they don't define you as a person. As we like to say, it's a diagnosis, not a sentence. If you find yourself in one of the lower percentiles, that's not an indictment for some great personal failing. It's simply saying, hey, here's where you are right now. Where can we go from here, and where do we want to go from here? You're not doomed to stay there for the rest of your life. There's a lot of stigma and emotional charge around these class-based labels, but the reality is they're just there to be financial benchmarks, not value judgments about who you are or what you can accomplish. Another crucial factor these raw numbers don't account for is age. Net worth typically increases throughout your working life, so comparing yourself to these overall statistics without considering where you are in life stage could be misleading. The good news is we actually have median net worth stats broken down by age ranges to give you a slightly more accurate picture of where you might need to be based on how old you are. If you're younger than 35, that's right around $39,000. For those that are 35 to 44, the median net worth is approximately $135,000. This increases to $246,700 for those between 45 and 54 years old, and it continues rising to $364,000 for the 55 to 64 age group. And then the 65 to 74 age bracket reaches the highest median net worth at $410,000 before declining slightly to $335,000 for those that are 75 or older. This age context completely transforms how we should interpret these class-based numbers. If you're 18 and you've saved and invested $27,000 from working part-time jobs, you're technically lower class or the bottom 25th percentile based on the overall stats we saw, but you're actually way far ahead of your peers. Likewise, if someone is 75 or older and has a net worth of around $750,000, they may feel reassured by being labeled upper class, but they might not really be as financially secure as that label would suggest given their specific stage of life. So what are these statistics good for? Well, they give you a useful benchmark because you can't know where you're going without knowing where you're at presently. And they provide concrete milestones for you to shoot for as you continue to save and invest. And they help you understand the broader financial landscape in which you're operating. Remember, wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires discipline, money, and time, those three magical ingredients that transform modest savings into significant wealth. So whether you're currently in the lower, the middle, or the upper class by these definitions, the principles of financial success remain the same. Live on less than you make, invest the difference wisely, and give your money time to grow. The beauty of understanding these benchmarks isn't about comparing yourself to others. It's about gaining clarity on your own financial journey and recognizing that with the right habits and enough time, meaningful wealth is achievable for most Americans, regardless of where they start or where they're at right now today. What matters most isn't the label that you carry, but the trajectory that you're on for tomorrow. So calculate your net worth, understand where you stand, make a plan to improve it consistently over time, and remember that financial success isn't about reaching some arbitrary number. It's about building the resources that you need to live the life that you want and building towards your great, big, beautiful tomorrow.